Welcome to Loud and Clear, a program geared toward the younger generations. You can listen in every Thursday at 7 p.m. or find the plug to our YouTube channel on kgtcradio.com.
Hey, I'm Nathan.
And I'm Carlos.
And welcome to Loud and Clear. Before we get into the program today, I'm going to go over some prelims. So if you need to, or if you want to, email a question in for us, it's going to be at vcfrevivalyouth@gmail.com. Put LC in the subject line, or you can text us at 509-402-3446. So today we have Garrett. Hello, Garrett.
Hello.
He's going to be giving his testimony today, which we're super excited about. But first, I had a question for both of you guys. I wanted to ask you guys, do you have a useless talent that you like, just something that you can do, that you found out that you can do, that like doesn't have a lot of value?
You know what? I don't know why I didn't think about this before. I do.
Okay.
I have to give a little bit of context though, so
Okay.
I'll take like no time. But
Okay.
If you've seen the movie Nacho Libre,
Yeah.
the face that Nacho makes, I
That's
can actually
true.
make that exact same face.
That's true. I'm
And
so
it's
upset we're not on video right
it's
now.
absolutely like the most useless thing. Like, God, you could have given me anything.
I remember when you used to do that all the time.
And I'm like, God, that is such a useless gift.
That's
Like
great.
such a useless gift. And so that would be mine, I guess. I was sitting here thinking like, I don't have anything. Then I was like, you know what?
That's
I
pretty
do.
good. That's pretty
I
good.
can be Nacho.
That's,
For no
That's great.
That's my
is
useless
super funny
talent.
too. I remember when you do that all the time.
Absolutely useless.
Maybe
useless
next
talent.
time when we have video, you'll have
Yeah,
to
I'm
do
gonna
it
have
for the
to.
camera.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that.
Now that I brought it up, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah. Garrett, do you have anything?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I was kind of thinking about how, like, at first I was gonna make a joke and be like, I'm really talented at making my wife super mad, but
I think
think that's every husband's talent.
yeah, I was gonna say, you guys are good at that too.
Oh
yeah.
I'm professional. I think
Yep.
on that one.
Yeah.
I just gotta breathe wrong sometimes.
That was actually in my vows, was to annoy my wife.
yeah.
yeah.
It was my last vow.
I promise to annoy you
Yeah.
until we die.
Yeah.
Until we die.
Yeah. No, when I was a kid, I used to be able to like quote movies and stuff a lot. Like I would do a lot of Jim Carrey stuff,
Oh, yeah.
and it was just purely to entertain my parents. We would be in the car going somewhere, and I would pull out some like Grinch quote or like The Master of Disguise. Do you guys ever watch that?
Yep.
Okay, I could probably quote that movie. Like, I would literally watch it so many times that I would be walking to school and I would be replaying the movie in my head. And I would do that all the time. And I would do quotes from that movie. And I wasn't like, I don't think I was good at impressions, but I would just like remember stupid stuff and just say it. And that would just be my thing.
Yeah, I can remember movies. That's pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's useless
It is useless.
because I'm like, I can remember a movie, but I can't remember what I read this morning in my Bible.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
Lord, give me that
right?
capacity for reading the Word.
Yeah, it's like, geez, I can remember every SpongeBob quote to exist.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
Exactly. No, Patrick, mayonnaise is not an instrument. Horseradish isn't an instrument either.
I love how he knew what he was going to say.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and get into that. So Garrett, we're so excited to have you on this, and we're blessed to have you. You kind of the other week you were giving a message to the teens, and you kind of outlined your testimony a little bit, and it was powerful. It's powerful. And I want to ask you first, so where were you born?
I was born in Everett, Washington.
Okay.
Raised in Marysville, Washington. Lived there till I was in second grade, and then moved back to Everett.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was your childhood, as you grew up essentially over there?
Yeah. Yep. On the
Okay.
coast. Yep.
Okay. Really? Okay. And then you said that you had moved at some point in your life, like out of state?
No, that came later.
Okay.
In my later in my when I was like 25 or 28.
Okay.
I would.
Okay.
I'll tell you later.
So primarily,
my
you
whole
were
life
Washington.
in Everett, Marysville. My dad lived in Arlington, so
Okay.
in that little area.
So growing up, how, like looking back, how was your childhood as far as, like what did that look like?
So yeah, my childhood was it was good. I grew up My parents divorced when I was 5, so that's why we moved from Marysville to Everett. So started 3rd grade, I was in Everett, but my mom got remarried. And childhood was good. I saw my dad every week, spent the weekends with him. So, I mean, that part wasn't good, right? But it's all I knew. And I was never abused. I was raised in a Christian home. We went to church, went to a Foursquare church in Everett. Before that in Marysville, I was in Royal Rangers from a little kid up until we left that church.
Wow.
And so I was raised in a good home. I was treated good. It was just me and my sister, my mom, my stepdad, and then obviously my dad. I would see him, but played baseball as a kid, played sports as a kid, was in school. We really have nothing to complain about my childhood. It was good.
Is there any significant, like, we have what we call core memories, right? So is there any specific core memories, good or bad, or good and bad, that you can, like, that just sticks out to you?
Like as a kid?
Yeah.
Like a young kid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just the divorce really was like, that's
Really?
a big core memory. And then my mom getting remarried. I don't know if I liked that as a young kid. So maybe they're both like sort of down, like not the best core memories. But I mean, I don't know. I don't really think about stuff like that. My mind, I don't know. I just don't get attached to those things. The divorce never really affected my life in any way that I know. I mean, to this day, I don't know. I don't know how it affected me.
It's kind of all
honestly.
under the blood, right?
Right.
It's like when you've been saved and you've had that experience, like God just begins to wash.
Right.
Because those things are kind of like out of your control and not because of you, right?
Yeah.
And that's just, So what was high school Garrett like?
Okay, high school Garrett was he was a chubby kid who liked to play baseball and football. And I'd say I was a pretty good kid for most of my childhood, but high school was when, so my sister was out of the house by now. She was living with my dad. She sort of took a different turn in life. And so it was just me. And high school was good. I played baseball, played football, up until like junior year. And I was good. I was on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
I'd still go to church with my parents. I believe I got saved around probably in between middle school and high school years, maybe at summer camp. I think it was my last year at my junior high summer camp. And I believe I encountered Jesus then. But other than that, high school Garrett was good until about senior year.
Yeah.
In senior year, I started smoking a lot of weed and hanging out with the wrong crowd, partying all the time. That's like our whole high school was literally like, I could never found the group that didn't party, right? So it was like everybody partied, and I fell into that, wanting to be like everybody, and trying to fit in, and it got so bad. I don't think it actually took me out of sports, but I couldn't play sports because I couldn't keep my grades. And I'm sure that had to do with how I was living my life, and it just led from one thing to another. Started, using tobacco, then it was weed, then it was drinking. It was pretty much like that my whole last senior year.
And so what school was that you graduated from?
Everett High.
Okay, Everett High.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so after that, what was after that, obviously that's kind of where the story really begins in your life. And so what did that look like after high school? Yeah,
so after high school, man, it was before I turned 18, because I turned 18 like in August. So I was still 17 when I graduated, and I was still living at my parents' house, trying to find a job, being lazy, smoking, still partying. And once I turned 18, my anger started sprouting up. I was just at the house. I don't know. So basically what I'm saying is I had anger outbursts, was punching holes in the wall, throwing phones through the wall, taking all my anger out in my parents' house, not on them, but on their house. And we would always get in arguments. I was lying all the time. And they got fed up with me doing that, and they called the cops the day I did that, and I went to jail, and I could never go back home once I got out of jail, basically. So from basically 18 on, I was forced to be on my own will, because I had a no contact order with my parents. that's just what happens when you have a domestic violence, even though it's against the wall, right? In the state of Washington, that's what happens. So from that point, I was forced to go live with my buddy up the road, and that's when I had to go fend for myself, right? And all I knew was to get a job, and so I got a job and started living with my buddy, and things just got worse and worse and worse, and started drinking more and smoking more, and kept the job the whole time, right, until for a few years, and that's when it got bad.
Yeah. And then so it so that progressed, right? And so how old are you right now?
I'm 33.
33, okay. And so around that time, how long were you living with your buddy there?
Yeah, I lived with my buddy from like 18 to like 20 years old, and it didn't last too long because I eventually quit my job as a dishwasher and couldn't pay the rent, and then I had to go move up to Arlington and live with my dad, and I was just all over the place. I lived with him for probably a year and a half. Had a good job. I was actually in college for an aerospace machining apprenticeship and in school for that, and worked at a machine shop and was like building airplane parts and learning how to like code the machines and all this stuff. And that's when I met some guy where I worked selling Adderall. Well, first he sold me Adderall, and so that's what jumped me into drugs, right? Was I only had drank and smoked before then, and then this guy I worked with was his son was getting Adderall, but he wasn't giving to his son, right? So he was selling them, and so I started buying them from him to keep up with work and school, and obviously it felt good to me at the time. And then one day he switched his Adderall. There's like in a capsule, so he took the Adderall out of the capsule and put chunks of meth in it, and didn't tell me. And then he gave it to me. So it's sort of weird, right? It's a weird, it's a weird situation now that I look back on it, because but he's doing it for his profit, right? And he just asked me, hey, how does that feel one day? And I was like, yeah, it's even stronger, I feel, I was way more high, and I got hooked. And so that's what started me up on meth now. And so quickly I went from just drinking and smoking, which is not good at all, to taking Adderall to taking meth. And then and I was living on my own, and basically had no accountability, had no one to look after me. It was just me and myself and and that's always a problem, without the Lord in your heart,
Yeah, absolutely. So did you kind of have just kind of a survival mentality? Where do you feel, can you remember where you're spiritually and mentally you were in that moment?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can look back on it now. Spiritually, I had walked away. I had turned my back. I had, willingly, I was serving everything else. I was walked away probably in high school, honestly. In my heart, I can look back and be like, yeah, I know I walked away then. And it just led me down a path of destruction, really, honestly. Now I look back on it. In the moment, it was like I'm surviving. I'm doing what I have to do, and I'm having fun, and I'm young, and I have time, right? That's what I thought. I was young. I can just get all these jobs. And I never didn't have a job up until later in my testimony, but when things got really bad. But I was a functioning addict, right? And so I was always able to just keep going to the next place and keep going. Not really progressing in life, just being able to just staying the same or not worse, getting worse. But always having a job and always functioning. But spiritually, I was checked out.
So do you think that, was there ever a moment in that part of your life where you thought to yourself, I want to get right with God? Did that ever cross your mind? Man, I grew up in church. Yeah. I know better than this, quote unquote, I know better than this, did that thought ever come to your mind when you were dealing with that stuff?
Yeah, I don't really think it did, honestly. I was so sucked into the world. It really didn't. The part was that I wasn't communicating with my parents. My mom, she's a faithful believer, and my dad, I don't know. I don't really think he is. He didn't really live that way, right? And he never. I don't really think my dad is. But my mom was always a faithful believer. But I wasn't talking to them for years. I didn't talk to my parents for years after that, and especially throughout my addiction, I would push them away. They might try to talk to me about it, push them away. And so I never had the moment where I thought, hey, I want to get, I was saved. I want God. And there was, it was, and it's sad to say, but there was never a moment. It was all about me and how I can make myself feel better and basically get the next fix.
Did you ever feel like any kind of like bitterness propelled that at all in your heart, or was it more just like that, like what you said before, like I just have time, like I know that's there, but I'm going to do this? Or was there kind of, I mean, you said that there was a time where you were experiencing anger.
Right.
Was there any anger, resentment, or bitterness for the things of God that kind of propelled that lifestyle?
I don't know if I could say it was towards God. Maybe bitterness towards my parents.
Yeah.
But really, I was probably just more angry at myself, right? And not God. It wasn't like I'm angry at God, but it was just I was sold out for the world, honestly. It was just like a complete sellout, honestly. I can say that. Like, it wasn't I'm angry at God. I might had like some deep anger, or not deep, but like deep down in my heart anger that I didn't recognize towards my parents. Like, why did you throw me in jail? But now I look back, I'm like, I would have done the same thing,
Yeah.
It's like, and so I don't think there was any deep anger towards God or anything. I just walked away and didn't look back.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's hard when, like, and I don't know if was there any, usually if there's a specific moment where there like a tragedy happens or something like that, that kind of like, was there any like jolt awake moments where you felt like there was something that should have brought you to like, hey, I need to get right with God, but didn't?
Yeah.
In that time?
Yeah. So that brings me a few years later. I got hooked on heroin. So now I was doing heroin and meth. And then it progressed to fentanyl. And this is like this is when I was like from 23 to 28, basically. And so for those moments, so I had this truck, and just to jump forward ahead in my testimony, I was, to answer your question earlier, I was traveling around the state, and then eventually it led me to traveling around the country to support I didn't have a job at the time, so I would travel around and go to, I'm not going to say the stores' names, but I'd go to certain stores for a specific item and steal large quantities of it, right? Deceptively, I'd have a receipt for a water bottle I bought and just go push out all this product. And I would go from store to store to store, from Bellingham down to Oregon, and then all around Washington. And then when I was doing it around Washington, I was driving this little Chevy S10 pickup, little 92 Chevy S10 pickup, and I flipped my truck going to Spokane. I was probably like up for 3 days. And I was driving from, I think, Tri-Cities to Spokane, and ended up flipping my truck at 70 miles an hour after I had nodded off on fentanyl, flipped 3.5 times, didn't have a scratch on me. And at that moment, I got pulled to the tow yard from the cop. The cops came. I had a bunch of drugs on me. Never got searched, never got in trouble, nothing ever had happened from that. But it did make me question, like, what am I doing with my life,
Yeah.
But I didn't see a way out, and I didn't know. I had grown up in the church, but I didn't know, like, God help me. But he had, like, I can say I walked away from him, but he had his hand on me the whole time.
Yeah.
So I get to the tow yard after I flip my truck, and I'm fine, no scratches, no nothing. My truck's roof's caved in all the way. Like, there was a space for me, and that was it.
Wow.
It was crazy. I look back at the pictures now. But this lady prayed for me at the tow yard. Some random lady I don't know in Ritzville prayed for me. And then I just left there and had to find a way home. And then I flipped another car. I don't know if you're familiar with Deception Pass on the coast, but flipped that. Luckily, I didn't go off the cliff, but I had just gone over the bridge and flipped another car there. Again, nodding off and passing out the wheel. And but those moments in my life, I just never. I knew I needed to change, but I just didn't know how, and I didn't know Jesus was the answer, right? And all this time I'm doing this, my mom had actually got my sister to go to Ruth's house for a day or two, and then she ended up leaving on her own. But she was always telling me, there's this place called Timothy House, And I was like, I don't need Timothy House, I was like, I don't want none of it. And I didn't even know it was a faith-based discipleship place. I just knew it was a place to go not do what I was doing, basically.
Yeah.
But no, at no time I was doing, through all my addiction of stealing and doing drugs and all this stuff, did I ever be like, God, I need you. It was when things got even worse.
Yeah.
So what was your lowest point when you're like, okay, I something has to change?
Yeah, so my lowest point was, that's a good question. It was in Minnesota. So like Nathan, you had asked if I was like living in our state. And at this point I was traveling around the country and doing this whole stealing thing and selling the stuff online and making money. And it led me to all the way to Minnesota. And I had been gone for like 8 months at this time. And my lowest point was when I was in Minnesota and stuck on this res. This road trip led me to be stuck on this native reservation. I didn't know anybody. Minnesota gets down to like negative 20s, wind chill, negative, even worse, right? And I was just bouncing from house to house, people I was meeting. It was just the weirdest thing. But basically my addiction led me there. And it led me to a place where I was shooting up fentanyl and meth, all the time, every day, every minute of the day. And that led to me getting a infection from a dirty needle or whatever, right? I don't know what it was, bad drugs, whatever got in my system, to the point where I was at this person's place and I couldn't walk. It hurt to go to the bathroom. And when I say I couldn't walk, like I couldn't move. And I guess I had an infection in my spine, in my knee, my shoulder, and my heart, called endocarditis. And so from all this sin I was doing, right, I now had a blood infection and I was septic. And so I called the 911, ambulance came, they got me to the hospital. Then they rushed me to North Dakota, 2 hours away, because it was something they couldn't handle. And I was 4 emergency surgeries later. That's when I knew I needed change. And it took me to there. My addiction, my sin, I'm not just going to label it as addiction. It was, I was stuck in sin. My life was sin, and walking my way led me to a hospital bed where I shouldn't have lived. I shouldn't have lived through the car crashes, let alone this. And that was the point where I was like in the hospital for 67 days before I came up to Orville here. And but I had a moment where in that hospital room, my mom was like, you're not coming to our house, but you can either go to Oxford House or you can call Timothy House. And I was like, I'll try Oxford House, I don't want to go I ain't going there. Yeah. And I had like 5 of them listed out with their numbers, because I was in the hospital for 67 days on a bed, couldn't move, IVs all in me. The most I could walk was with a walker and a nurse holding my belt in a gown. People were wiping my butt. I couldn't do. It was like the most humiliating thing for 67 days, stuck in a state 30 hours by bus away from here. It's like, because we rode the bus. Me and my mom rode the bus here from there to here when I finally got here. But that was the moment I called Brian Wright, and he was now my father-in-law, which is a cool story. But
so cool.
Yeah.
But that's like right when he answered the phone, he's like, yeah, we got a space for you. So-and-so's graduating. There'll be a bed open. And like the glory of the Lord had washed upon me. Like I was in that room in the hospital bed, just on the phone by myself, no one around. And like the presence of God came on me. I started sweating. And I'm not just saying this because I felt it, but it was like a change. Something washed over me. And it was like from that moment forward, I hadn't re-accepted Jesus in my heart at that point. That would come right after I got the TH. And I would recommit my life to Christ, because I was serving Satan. Like I was not like, I was serving the world. I was serving sin so much that I knew I walked away from God's grace, right? Like I willingly was choosing a lifestyle that was like not conducive with God at all. And so, but that moment I called him, was like, to answer your question, I that's when I like realized that's where I found security, and I found, I don't know, it was that decision, I guess, that.
Yeah, that's so cool. And just to see where you are today, what I mean? Like, just amazing. The grace of God to carry you through all that, and to see where you are today, married, kids, and God's launching you into ministry. Powerful. I mean, it's just a beautiful story.
Yeah.
I mean, genuinely a powerful story.
Yeah, and I think that it would be awesome to get into. Obviously, we're out of time for today, but to get into, because that's really where the journey began. Right?
Yeah, that's where the good journey began.
The good journey
I
began.
know that was just the dark testimony,
yes,
right?
yeah, and in the moment where everything changed and what God has done has been beautiful. And there's a testimony even within, from the moment you got here, to now. There's a huge testimony there too. So we'd love to get into that as well. And so keep tuned if you're out there listening, whether it be the next program or whether it be soon. We're definitely going to have you back and get into that too, because that's amazing. But thank you guys so much for listening today. Hope you were encouraged. I hope you can see that just God can do anything in anybody's life. Doesn't matter what has happened. And God is a good God. And so with that, thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
Deuce.
Tune in to Loud and Clear every Thursday at 7 p.m. or listen online at kgtcradio.com.